Hi everybody, welcome to Sunny Preps. I wasn't expecting to do a video today, but I unexpectedly had a problem with the freezer down in the basement. Something got added to the freezer and the door didn't close fully, and so some of my tomatoes that I had down there thawed out and needed to be processed immediately. So they were still cold and still had ice crystals in them, but they were definitely thawed out. And so I am starting the process of canning the tomatoes. Now I saw on the internet one woman actually roasted the tomatoes before she turned them into sauce. And I thought that sounded like a really nice flavor to add to it. So I've got them in here. Let me show you. Alright, I've got them in here roasting with some minced garlic and some onions. So we're going to see how that works. Get some of that nice roasted, toasted flavor. Yum! The house smells so good. Okay, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I am making this thing up as I go along. Because when I got the bags of tomatoes out of the freezer that had thawed, some of them were like giant bags of water with a few tomatoes floating in them. So I dumped all of that liquid off. I don't really want to do that in the future because I know there's probably a lot of nutrients and flavor in that water. But because I wasn't expecting to do this today, they just got dumped and I strained the tomatoes out in a colander. So then I put them in the oven and roasted them like you saw. Well, I had 2 cookie sheets worth in the oven. I broiled them a little bit right at the end to really get them browned up without taking out too much of the water. I wasn't trying to dehydrate them, but I may have taken out too much of the water already. Now in the future, I want to remove the seeds, but for today, I'm like, I don't care. I know some people leave their seeds in there and stuff like that, so I couldn't put it through a strainer because I had the big chunks of onions in there and the garlic, and I do want those in the sauce. So I just decided to use an immersion blender. Let me show you. Okay, so I use my immersion blender and blend it. And this pot is way overkill, but I just want to get used to using it. So now I have it in here, but I think this is actually thicker than I want it to be. So I haven't added any spices to it other than the garlic and the onions. And you can see I didn't quite get all the onions. That's okay though. That'll be yummy. So I might add a little bit of water back in here so that the spices can really cook for a while. And then we also had some packs of ground beef that were in that freezer that thawed. They're still cold like they were in the fridge. But I'm not going to refreeze them. I'm going to put them in the sauce. And there's probably, yeah, there's definitely too much sauce here for one meal. So I'll just stick it in a jar and stick it in the fridge. It's not enough here to can, and I just don't have the time to go through the whole process with a whole freezer full of tomatoes. But I am definitely learning. If anybody has some suggestions of what they would do differently about this, I like the idea of roasting, but if anybody else tried it and decided it doesn't taste good or it's too much trouble, do you strain off the extra water after the tomatoes thaw, or do you save that water and let it boil off because that'll keep the flavor in the pot instead? Please let me know. Well, I have no idea how this happened, but I am apparently not a proper prepper because I don't have any Italian seasoning in the house, not even in my preps. I've got multiples and multiples of lots of other spices. And I think it's because I actually grew oregano and thyme and stuff like that in my front little flower bed garden. But I did not dry it properly, or it didn't work. I ran out of time, something. So I didn't actually preserve it, even though I did practice growing it and I have it and it's good. But I'm running to the store to get some Italian seasoning. So the immersion blender did not do the job. I had peeled off some of the skins, but I didn't get them all. And the immersion blender did not cut them up. It just rolled them up into little sticks. It was really weird. And it didn't even chop up the chunks of garlic that were in there, but there's still some chunks of garlic in there. You can see it was smashed up pretty good. So I ended up running it through a colander. I have this thing that fits down inside of this, and it was messy and I probably wasted a lot of stuff, but it got the job done and the sauce looks fantastic and it smelled fantastic. I had to go actually and let people into an apartment so they could lay carpet. We had some water damage. And when I came back, I could smell this from the driveway, even though it hadn't been cooking the whole time I was gone. So it smells good. I think this pot is way overkill for this amount that I did. But I think I know what I'm going to need. I'm definitely going to order something to separate the seeds and skins out, and getting ready to put the meat in here and boil some pasta, and the rest of it will get put in cans. There's not that much in here. You can see how deep this is. So it'll get put in a can, or a jar, and probably just put in the fridge and used sometime soon. All right, I'm going to let this continue simmering down a little bit to make it even thicker. It's got the meat in it now. Looks really good, smells good. And here's my plate. It's not fancy. I'm not good at doing fancy food pictures. But I am going to go sit down and relax and enjoy it. It's very late at night and I should have eaten dinner hours ago. Thanks for joining me on the adventure of saving those tomatoes after the freezer had a little fail. It wasn't the freezer's fault. Next time I think I will make juice and soup and plain sauce. And that way when I take it out of the can, then I can, or out of the jar, the canning jar, I can spice it up however I want it for whatever recipe I'm going to make. And I think that'll be a lot easier. I'm definitely going to get a food mill to get rid of the seeds and the skins. The skins is what turned out to be the problem. I thought I got most of them off, but apparently just a few can wreak havoc and make these little, they rolled up into little sticks. I wish I saved one to show you. But it was delicious, and I look forward to actually the full canning of what's in my freezer, and hopefully I will be able to do that soon. Right now I'm off on another adventure for owning rental property. Yeah, it's a long story, but I have another rental property that is just about ready to list, so I'm going to get that wrapped up today and get some pictures taken and get ready to list it. And then I might actually have time to can the tomatoes in my freezer. I don't like to rely on the freezer too much, because if there is a power outage, then you lose what's in there if it's very long. I do have a solar backup that I haven't played with yet, and that will be another video eventually at some point, but don't want to rely too much on freezers at all. Thanks again for joining me. If you have any suggestions, put them in the comments below. Any ideas, anything that I did wrong that you would never do, just let me know. And whatever you do, keep smiling, because a rainy day is no match for a sunny disposition. I'll talk to you guys later. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe and share. Bye.